Chapter 38, in which speculators get their speculation on, and our hero confronts an oblivious bilingual. In a rush to be first, CNN aired our video unedited, and the anchor, his talking head contained in a small box at the bottom of the screen, visibly flinched every time Garland referred to his attorney as an asshole. You can still watch the CNN video on YouTube. It has 8.9 million views, and it's hilarious. The next 63 times CNN aired the video that day, they bleeped out Garland's more colorful nouns and adjectives. However, his disdain for Lucian Fig was still abundantly clear. In less than half an hour, CNN assembled a round table of experts to speculate on every aspect of our story. Their legal expert, a balding man in suspenders, weighed in on whether Garland, Parker, or I had broken the law. Having not been with them for the last 24 hours, I cannot say for certain, the legal expert said, and the host nodded. That said, the old man's language perhaps violated YouTube's terms of service, and your network will certainly face FCC fines for airing it uncensored. Next, the historian, a bespectacled little old lady in a cardigan, spoke at length on the more than 60,000 U.S. servicemen who married foreign women during and immediately following World War II. Soldiers falling in love with women in countries they've conquered or liberated is not a new phenomenon, she said, but the host had to cut her off when, for no apparent reason, she began talking about Attila the Hun. Finally, the psychologist, a black man with a British accent, speculated on our individual motives. The older man, Mr. Lennox, appears to be grappling with his own mortality. By returning to the love of his youth, he's trying to reclaim his youth. The host began to ask a follow-up question, but a producer interrupted. Lucian Fig was on the line, calling to defend himself against allegations of assholery. But when the host grilled Lucian on his unsubstantiated claims of kidnapping and ransom, Garland's attorney released a profanity-laced tirade of his own that, if not cut short by an impromptu commercial break, would have resulted in CNN receiving the sort of fine networks receive when pop stars reveal their nipples during the Super Bowl. This did little to refute Garland's claims, and Lucian Fig asshole at law memes flooded the internet minutes later. Had a plane crashed, or a kid fallen in a gorilla cage at a zoo, or Sadie Evans walked out of a restaurant, the networks would have pushed our story to the back burner. But obviously, April 16th was a slow news day, and similar roundtable conversations were happening simultaneously on Fox News and MSNBC. Half an hour later, the three networks somewhat suspiciously arrived at the same narrative. This was the feel-good story of the year, and perhaps the most romantic thing anyone could remember. And unless Parker and I actually did issue a ransom, and apart from Lucian Fig, no one believed we would, everyone was rooting for us to find Madeleine. However, each network had a team of researchers frantically digging to find out anything and everything they could about Garland, Parker, and me, just in case ratings demanded a change in narrative. Back in France, the three of us cruised down Autoroute 13, unaware of our ever-growing celebrity status back home. We remained unaware for the next few hours because Parker, apart from navigational duties, was also in charge of scanning news sites for any mention of our escapades. But instead, she'd discovered Candy Crush, and though she neglected her two primary jobs, she did pass level 350 for me, so I can't be too upset. A few kilometers past the service area, Garland announced, "Now if you two don't mind, I'm going to resume my nap. All this getting kidnapped has wore me slap out." "Sweet dreams," Parker said, not looking up from her game. "Wait," I said, catching his eye in the rearview mirror. You speak French. The old man leaned forward and said, What are you jabbering on about, son? You speak French, I repeated. The hell I do. But you do, I said, and I was under the impression you needed me here to translate. And drive, Parker said, again her eyes never leaving my phone. We do need you to translate, Garland said, and tried to lie back down. Tell him he spoke French, I said to Parker, who cursed loudly as her game ended. You spoke French, she said, then started a new game. When? Garland demanded, leaning back between our seats. In the airport, you told one of the soldiers his mother was a whore, I said, and Garland laughed because at times he had all the maturity of a 12-year-old. Then, in that cafe in Paris, you asked where the bathroom was, and the thing is, your French sounds better than my French teacher's, so I'm starting to doubt you brought me here to translate. And drive, Parker added again. I watched Garland in the mirror. He looked genuinely confused. Garland, où avez-vous appris parler en français? I asked. I don't know where I learned it, Garland said, looking even more confused that he'd understood my question. He sat back to think, and a moment later leaned between our seats again and said, You know, I probably picked up the whore stuff in the army. We all knew how to say things like, your mother has a penis in French and German, you know, in case we ever found ourselves in a situation where such language was appropriate. When would it not be appropriate? Parker said, and we both ignored her. As for the other stuff, Garland said, I hid with Madeleine for nearly 3 months, and she tried to teach me a little French. I bet some of it's just coming back to me. Wait, I said. You lived with her for 3 months? Son, I was in a German-occupied town with a broken ankle. Making a run for it wasn't an option. He cleared his throat like he was about to dive into another story, so I snatched my phone away from Parker. Damn it, Edwin Green, I was almost... I turned on the camera, pressed record, and handed the phone back to her. Just film Garland, I said. His adoring fans may demand another video soon. I was more right than I knew.